Hi. Well, it's good to be here with you again today. I hope your day is going well. It is a beautiful day here in Minnesota, and we continue our way through Ezekiel. And we have two words today that seem to come out of the scripture, and that is doom and deliverance. On the one hand, doom for those religious leaders and for those people who are still in Jerusalem, still arrogant, feeling self-righteous, willfully disobedient towards God, think they are the favored ones. Deliverance for those who are in exile, for those who have been faithful and are struggling now out there, that ultimately God will bring them home. He will deliver them. Now, what's interesting is these religious leaders are thinking that just the opposite should be right. That those who've been taken off into exile, it was through either their own fault or the luck of the draw. But that those who are left behind, those are the faithful ones, those are the ones that God has protected, and so they should be the ones who are seeing God's favor at this point. Again, always the focus on themselves and who they are. And it reminds me so often, and I'm not just trying to bash politicians, but so often those who seem to be raised up into positions of leadership, and it's not just in politics either, ultimately we find that they are corrupt. And that's because so often they are people who, once they get to power, if they want to keep their power, they somehow feel like they need to be popular. Whereas someone who's on their own, humble, not in a position of authority, they can speak their mind, they can be honest, they can do as they please, and they're not beholden to anyone. And I think so often we give our politicians a bum rap. Yes, they may be corrupt, but they come from a society that's corrupt. They tend to mirror those that they are governing, and that's more a reflection on us and what we want to hear. And the Bible is replete with that. One of the things that we see here in Scripture, even as you look at chapter 13, is this idea that beware of those people. And this is the same message time and time that God is giving us here through the prophets. Beware of those people who claim that they speak for God, yet when they talk about things that sound really good to you, but are not consistent with what God has said previously. Therefore, those that you want to follow are those whose message is consistent with what God has already said. And the same would be true for us today, as we would look around at those that we might want to listen to and to hear. Look for those whose word is consistent with Scripture. And let's face it, sometimes the best advice we can get is not from someone who's whispering sweet nothings in our ear. It's someone who honestly cares about us and will tell us the truth. And that's what we need to hear. So it's a great reminder for us. What I saw in chapter 12, if you read through chapter 12, it was kind of like, okay, it's deportation time. Pack your bags. And we're not stalling it any longer. The time is now and it's going to happen. And all of this in these chapters reminds me of if you remember, if you're old enough, the old Monday Night Football team that was in the broadcast booth included an old quarterback from the Dallas Cowboys named Don Meredith. And when a game got to the point where you knew who the winner was going to be, even though there was still time left, Don Meredith would start singing, "Turn out the lights, the party's over." And it reminded me of the last concert I was at. Pam and I went to see with some friends Trans-Siberian Orchestra. Don't know if you're familiar with them. We went around Christmas time because they have this Christmas album, and it's a large entourage, filled an arena with thousands of people. So there's lots of noise and sound and lights and pyrotechnics, the whole works. And they come on the stage, and it's almost 2 hours long, and it's just exciting to be there. And then all of a sudden they were done. They finished their song, they left. Next thing you know, it's like all the energy leaves. The house lights come up, the big lights go down. You can still see remnants of smoke, but no longer do you see the fireworks and stuff. the noise is dropped off to nothing, and you're just kind of left there. They're gone. It's over. And in essence, that's what God is saying here, is He is turning His face away. He is taking His presence, and He is going away. He's going over the hill. He's gone. And when He's gone, there's nothing left. And if the people thought that what they had suffered thus far was terrible, wait till they get a sense of what it's like when God takes His face, His presence away. Because one of the things that Scripture shows us is that, and by the way, in chapter 10, there's quite a description about this chariot of God, this throne of God. And I've been looking around on Google. There's some marvelous images of it. If you just Google Ezekiel, chariot, throne of God, you'll see all sorts of these pictures of what artists think it looks like. But whatever it looks like, and it does sound weird, the point is it was to represent God's presence. And what we also understand from Scripture is that God's presence was a sign of His favor. God's absence was a sign of His disfavor. And in essence, when Jesus said, my God, why have you forsaken me?" on the cross, what that really denoted was that God, His presence, was taken away from Jesus Christ on the cross. Jesus felt the whole weight of what it was like to live outside the presence of God. Much, much different than just the band leaving the stage after a concert. So today, let's take heart that we live in the presence of God. In fact, God Himself dwells in us richly, and we give thanks for that. God has showered upon us His favor and His presence, and especially in His Son, Jesus Christ. And with that, we go forward. We trust in Him. We're part of that group that He has promised deliverance for. He will bring one day into His presence in His kingdom when His kingdom comes. And we see it in all its glory. So have a great day. Take heart and live in the presence of God today as He shines His favor on you. God's blessings to you.